You want to start on the headliner, or do you want to wait?
I mean, we can kind of talk about it. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the headline thing is just to kind of have something to talk about while people filter in. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've noticed this article on PC Gamer talking about the what is it? Let me look this up real quick. The
The drama
the,
of something.
the drama. I forget the name of it. Let me open up my browser and take a look. I had to restart my. I had to reboot my laptop because it was the sound wasn't working on it.
Esports relates to the current issues with Heart of the Storm. There's issues with Heart of the Storm?
I haven't heard news about Heart of the Storm. What happened with that?
Yeah, Dejaro is talking about it in chat.
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking to the voices in my head like usual, okay?
I'm saying for a change.
No, I usually talk to them, I'm saying.
I know.
Unusually. We just got a whole bunch of exclamation points. I'm scared. Hold me. But I'm not like super plugged into Blizzard news all the time, so I'm not surprised I haven't heard about it. Especially esports. Like we are an MMO platform. Why would we pay attention to esports?
Well, I mean, the history of esports kind of is interesting. Just little tangent here. Where it was kind of seen as a big way to kind of get legitimacy for games, positioning them as sports. Because I mean, essentially sports are just games that we pay people to play and get all excited about. So I think a lot of the thinking was along those lines of trying to get people excited about other people playing video games.
Actually, I just saw that TBS was broadcasting an E-League like this past weekend. I forget. Oh, that's right. I thought I turned hyperlink block off. Yeah, post it on the Discord and just tag me. I'll pull it up. I am lost in the space. Crap. I've been trying to figure out what's blocking you from being able to post links, and I can't figure it out. I don't know what random thing I have attached to the chat.
It's just pure unrelenting hatred by the bots. They resent us.
I guess I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, one sec. I just got tagged. Let's see. Okay.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
What we was originally talking about was the U.S. government had issued the final report of the Federal Commission on School Safety. It's basically in response to yet another school shooting, of course, and basically the summary, the findings were that essentially they found the ESRB, which is the rating board, the one that basically says E for everyone and online interactions are not rated. Found that those were basically very well trusted by parents.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they, but the government essentially likes to blame video games because they're kind of the new and strange and wacky medium that is a giant threat to kids, just like movies and television and
guns.
Rock and roll music was before. Yeah. Well, no, guns are fine. We have a right to arm children. Actually, it's a great comedian that does a bit about that. But no, they essentially kind of admit that the SRB is doing its job, but it really wants to blame video games. So it's like we still recommend that ratings agencies review their policies and make sure that age inappropriate content is not in the hands of children. And it just kind of shows that once again the attitude toward the of how games are kind of this scary thing and they that must be shunned and like blamed for things because blaming other things
instead of the actual issues.
Right. It's much more politically expedient. It's easy to kind of score points by blaming video games for things. But it's kind of the same old kind of boogeyman, brought out again,
I can. Oh shit! I can do damage. Come to my waypoint.
You're way the hell over there.
Oh. I found the active orb.
Okay.
And we can actually do damage to the vents.
So to explain the gameplay here, they did Warframe just patched. They added in these giant monsters. So we're being stupid and going and trying to attack them by themselves.
Yeah. Which, God, didn't they just attack ESRB like 10 years ago?
I mean, the SRB's been under fire a lot because, I mean, like I said, it's easy to score kind of free political points. Ooh, ow, 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 ow,
Yeah.
Oh. Oh God, everything's terrible.
Yeah, I'm preventing damage. I can't tell if I'm actually doing anything to this guy. I think I am.
I'm doing shield damage when I hit certain areas.
Yeah, the vents.
Yeah.
Okay, I just took down the shield of the first vent, and now I do no damage.
But I mean, like you said, video games. I mean, there's just been a long history of this. I mean, even before modern times, basically any new thing that like provides entertainment and communication, people like wring their hands and and worry about saying, oh my God, it's corrupting kids.
Oh God, I can't see anything. The bloom is too much.
I know We tried using your operator to damage see if you can damage the vents.
Yeah, yes. Oh no. Oh, where?
What?
Bad things are happening. It's fine.
We're regular scheduled podcast is being interrupted while we deal with. Oh God, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, like I said, there's been kind of this continuous desire to blame something. Like video games are just kind of the latest thing to kind of be blamed because
How dare you? How dare you do things that entertain people?
Right. Well, I mean, like, kids these days. I mean, and even like things like cell phones, like oh my god, cell phones are making people be uncivil to each other.
I'm pretty sure people are uncivil to each other because they're human beings.
Right.
So, well, just to counteract, I don't think we're doing this right.
Probably not.
Okay, let's go back to Fortuna and just do something productive.
Let's follow it. I think it'd be interesting. Let's follow it and see where it goes.
Okay.
Maybe there's something to like where it goes or something like that. Yeah, we're just gonna be fumbling around with this stuff in the background while we talk. But like even cell phones, like people talk about cell phones being kind of this horrible thing, and people their eyes glued to the screen instead of interacting with each other. But like the reality is, of course, like people have always looked for ways to avoid interacting with each other, or just because somebody's looking somebody in the eye and smiling and whatnot doesn't mean they're listening.
I mean, reading books was the
Right.
introverts and reclusives means of escape.
Right. People talk about like putting headphones in on subways and whatnot in order to avoid avoid having to being talked to like on public transit and whatnot. So but video games like for the longest time had the kind of the perception of being for lonely losers and all that. So
And now that video games are the mainstream, right, they're too popular. But here's the other thing though that I kind of is in my thinking muscle when I start thinking about the ESRB's ability to moderate game with ratings. Like, it's the ESRB's job to say what's appropriate, right? But they can't actually police who has access to it.
Well, I mean, like they can make recommendations, but then it takes essentially companies kind of abiding by that. Like the closest example we have to this would be like the equivalent is movie ratings.
Right.
Nobody, there's no law saying that you can't let a kid into a rated R movie. But like essentially, it's self-regulation by the movie theaters and the movie industry.
Right. And it used to be retail stores would be the actual policing. Oh, I can't sell this to you. You're too young.
Right.
But with direct downloads now.
Right. I mean, that complicates it. But for the interesting thing to discuss here is like for the longest time, there was essentially some de facto censorship that if the ESRB basically gave you an AO rating, adult essentially roughly the equivalent. I mean, they don't like the comparisons, but it's essentially roughly the equivalent of an X rating in movies.
Right.
Like that was the death knell for your game. Like you could not get an AO rating because then when we had games in stores, then Walmart wouldn't carry you.
Right.
Like Walmart and a lot of the large retailers wanted to be kind of seen as being family friendly and all that, and so they would not carry any game that was above a certain rating. Even M for mature kind of got was like kind of a risky thing. You had to be pretty popular in order to avoid being frozen out of stores. And now it's like it's much harder now because like you have downloads and like it's like, hey little Jimmy, are you 18 or above? You bet I am.
Right.
Show me titties. And so and so then it becomes a kind of a question of like how do you enforce that in the age of like not physical presence? I mean, but you notice that people don't get bent out of shape about the same thing about R-rated movies and whatnot. kids could go on Amazon Prime and basically go watch different R-rated movies, and nobody's gonna be nobody's kind of getting their nose bent out of shape about that. But the flip side is that like when but if we're talking about if we're talking about video games, this is these are dangerous, and it's and even though there's been a lot of studies that kind of show that like there's really very little correlation between behaviors, like player behaviors and playing violent video games, and most correlation that like they've come up with has kind of been more along, violent people like violent video games rather than violent video games make people violent.
Right. Correlation and causation, like
right.
I'm reading about the orbs, and I think we need to go back to Fortuna.
Okay. Right, and so but I mean they really haven't even showed much correlation. I think the most damning evidence has been some along the lines of like people's if somebody played a very kind of violent active video game, they basically they showed more aggressive tendencies for a very short period afterward. But that's probably no different than a lot of other media where if you kind of or even just driving, for example, like
road rage.
Right, exactly. If you get stuck in traffic, you're probably gonna be a little cranky afterwards.
And that's just biological responses. You get adrenaline and testosterone build up, and
right, exactly. And so, but like I said, like essentially what it boils down to is that games are kind of the current cool scapegoat to kind of like blame. So